It is ruinous for the soul to be anxious about the future and miserable in advance of misery. Seneca. By now you have likely heard there was another mass shooting, this time in the sanctuary of a Minneapolis Catholic school during morning mass. These stories unnerve me more than most other kinds of tragedies, and so I wanted to say a few things about it as a reminder, almost to myself, about why we do this channel. Like so many of you, I grew up in the post-Columbine world where schools everywhere became haunted by the fear of armed shooters. This fear crystallized over 2 decades with a stream of almost constant shootings, most inspired by ones that came before them. Younger people right now have been absolutely scarred by Uvalde, Parkland, Sandy Hook, irreparably. We live in a cloud of anxiety as people. We live with this horrible blur of fear about foreign terrorism and viruses and homegrown shooters. And believe it or not, we do have something to say about it on this channel. Now, you can go to cable news or a political commentator for details and analysis on Minneapolis. It's pretty straightforward to me. There was another young adult male shooter, trans/gender confused, seemed to have regrets about it, legally purchased weapons, and was very clearly disturbed. I don't say this about every killer or act of terror because it's not often clear, but I will say it about this individual. Demonic, overwhelming evidence of evil moving through a person, tormenting them, causing genuine suffering in previous generations, which would have been called what it is, which is possession by otherworldly evil. And you don't have to agree with that. I don't expect you to. By today's standards, it's a bold claim. But the question is, what are we to do about it? What are we to do with such reckless hate?
Ride out and meet them.
We can't ride out and meet them, as Aragorn suggested. There is no them in the case of sporadic mass killers. There's only us and our fear of the future. What is going to happen to us tomorrow?
Sometimes life is like this dark tunnel. You can't always see the light at the end, but if you just keep moving, you will come to a better place.
I think it is interesting that America, after COVID-19, has seen at least 2 cultural revivals. One is faith and a return of a generation of young men to Christian churches, and another is the secular fascination with Stoicism, of which we are a part. This ancient philosophy, which seeded modern cognitive behavioral therapy with its focus on spheres of control, separating the things within our influence and the things beyond it, has made a comeback because it's all connected. One is feeding the other. We are afraid of what tomorrow holds and of the chaotic forces in the world today that have the capability to throw everything into a tailspin with something as simple as a tweet or a small bomb. Everything feels unstable. As a result, people feel powerless. And I know that because it's the case with me. I have felt powerless. And so when I started spending time with the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca during COVID-19, I got this comforting sense that things have always been this way and that they always will. Some of you will suggest in the comments, and you should leave comments and your thoughts on this because it's a weighty subject, that shootings are not something we have to live with, that we have to live in fear of, and that there is a public policy solution, and that currently we are living in a public policy choice. It's not ignoring that. I work in public policy and issue advocacy by day. It's not hard to find me in real life and see what I do for work, which is around politics and government. It's not the point. The point is that there will always be something. And who we are in that fear, how we feed it or turn away from it and towards something better is going to determine the entire arc of our lives. So, story time. Gandalf in Tolkien's The Return of the King is in the company of Aragorn and the sons of Elrond, and they are discussing what will happen if the Ring of Power is destroyed, and Middle-earth does get rid of Sauron, the ultimate evil active at the time. Gandalf makes what I think is a very stoic remark. It leaps off the page at me every time something horrible is going on in the news, like these shootings, and it reads, "Other evils there are that may come. For Sauron is but a servant or emissary. Yet it is not our part to master all the tides of the world, but to do what is in us for the succor or support of those years wherein we are set, uprooting the evil in the fields that we know, so that those who live after may have clean earth to till. what weather they have is not ours to rule. This is always on my mind. What he's saying is no different in kind from what Aurelius might write, "Do not let the future disturb you. You will meet it if you have to, with the same reason you apply now to the present." But there's also this added layer of almost activist language. Gandalf is saying you must pull weeds and till the soil in your sphere of influence, the fields that you know. And I don't care if you're a gun rights person or a gun control person, you can read yourself into this. He says to do what we can for the support of the years in which we are alive, and to uproot evils in our fields so that our children and their children have a good world to grow up in. Unfortunately, that is the attitude of both sides of the American gun violence debate.
I ask only for the strength to defend my feet.
They both think that they are preserving a free future in some way. And so this is where the stoicism factor comes back into play. We have to reflect on things that are truly, genuinely within our control, and those that are not, and aggressively turn our attention to what we can do in the fields that we know. Localism here is required. You don't know intimately the fields of other US states, other countries, or communities hours away from you.
All his life as he looked away to the future, never his mind on where he was, what he was doing.
You know your neighborhood, your household, your family, your zip code all quite well. When you feel that your feet are falling out beneath you, that you are doom scrolling online about this shooting or a war abroad or the next bird flu, you must turn to your garden. And I'm not even being metaphorical about this. This morning, I was out back playing fetch with my dog, and I was throwing the ball while looking at the news of the shooting and learning details about the shooter, ultimately useless information. And I look up and this little Chinese woman comes out of her back door like she does every morning and evening, and with a tiny pot of water and scissors, she is pruning and feeding her plants. And I watch her do this because it's her ritual, and I put my phone away and I look at my back porch and I have 3 or 4 yellowing plants that need the same care. I look at my dog and he wants my attention. My teenager is inside doing whatever, and it's her last week of summer break. There are 2 trees on my property that need treatment for damage done by spotted lanternflies, and my trash can is overflowing. You know, there is stuff that needs to get done. There are relationships that I need to water, city council volunteer opportunities that I am not helping with. My Boy Scout troop could probably use more of my time, but I spend it like this. And it's not just a few minutes. These fears, they take up so much time added together. They will always exist, and I don't have to feed and enlarge them. A person can starve their fears of material to grow. Seneca says it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Americans are a self-governing people. True. We do have to do things, engage in activism, and run for office. I ran for city council last year, but 99% of people are not David Hogg. They do not give themselves up to a cause and actually go try to do it and make it their life's work. They just worry and scroll and worry and scroll. And if you are doing this, you need to stop. Jordan Peterson 101, make your bed. And you can only give greatly to the world if your house is in order and you have done what was being left undone. But still, our fear is very real. We have nightmares and visions of the things that could go wrong, paranoia. I learned this when I was 12 through Star Wars. First, Luke Skywalker and his visions of Han and Leia suffering in Cloud City, and then Anakin Skywalker and his visions of Padme's death. Star Wars is, if I had to choose one thing, about the choice to let go when you're afraid. That can be the fear of change or the unknown.
But you can't stop the change, any more than you can stop the suns from setting.
That's the one thing. Characters who cannot do it fall to the dark side. And it's all about finding the balance between the things that we are worried about and the things that we can do. Obi-Wan, at the beginning of episode 1, has a bad feeling about something.
Don't center on your anxieties, Obi-Wan. Keep your concentration here and now where it belongs.
But Master Yoda said I should be mindful of the future.
But not at the expense of the moment.
He can be mindful of the future, but not at the expense of the moment. I know that it's hard. It is the hardest thing, because as human beings, we are drawn to the future like moths to flame. It is part of what makes us unique. In C.S. Lewis's Screwtape Letters, he describes how demons might prey on this inclination that we all have to dwell on the future. Screwtape Letters is often just described as Christian in its nature, but it's also steeped in Stoicism, as Lewis understood it. One of the demons says, we want him, or humans, to be in the maximum uncertainty, so that his mind will be filled with contradictory pictures of the future, every one of which arouses hope or fear. There is nothing like suspense and anxiety for barricading a human's mind against the enemy, being God. He, being God, wants men to be concerned with what they do. Our business is to keep them thinking about what will happen to them. That's Screwtape Letters number 6. No lies detected. We are at our worst when we agonize over the unknowable. We are at our best when we sit and acknowledge it, acknowledge the fear, and then do something with our energies that only we can do. For me, it's talking to you. It's making this video because, again, the doom scrolling and the agonizing and the thinking to myself about this creates no value. Nearly all vices are rooted in the future, Lewis says. Gratitude looks to the past. Fear, lust, and greed look to the future. And love lives in the present. That's the only place that you will find it. This image is of Fletcher Merkel. He died in that church. Fletcher's father told the media this. He said, give your kids an extra hug and kiss today. So while professionals who are paid to incite and divide people try to turn you against loved ones and against prayer and against God, consider that you should be doing something so much more simple. Hug someone, love someone, kiss someone. You have the time and you have the power. So focus and do it. Thank you for watching Geeky Stoics. I'm Steven. I know that this is a tough subject. It's a little bit off the normal beaten path, but the stories that we love have something to tell us about our real world problems, and this is one of them. And related to all of this, we have a book coming out, just announced by the publisher last week. Your focus determines your reality. It's slated for late 2026, and it is the Geek's Guide to Stoic Thought with an emphasis on the numinous, or the divine. We believe very strongly in the Stoic principles of focus, discipline, and balance, and that they unlock our ability to experience wonder and to connect with what they might have called the Logos and what Yoda calls the Force and what I call God. If you want to be in the know about the book, go over to geekystoics.com, throw in your email, it's totally free, and we'll let you know when to pre-order, because that will make or break the book in terms of its overall success. So we hope you will join us in that journey. Thanks again, and may the Force be with you.